Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. So a week ago today, Tiny Toons Looniversity made its premiere on Max, and it made its premiere on Cartoon Network the next day as well, being the first 2 episodes of the show. And with that all being said, I've now seen the first few episodes of the series, and wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the series as a whole thus far. As per usual with these videos, there will be spoilers ahead, but they're more minor, I would say, given that this isn't a plot-heavy show. So with that being said, let's get into this. For those of you who don't know what Tiny Toons Looniversity is, just a quick synopsis of the series. It's essentially a show following the next generation of Looney Tunes characters as they attend college. And they're all being taught by the classic Looney Tunes characters that we all know and love. So for example, Bugs Bunny's a professor, Daffy Duck, Willie Coyote. We see that Granny is the dean of the school. And the series revolves around these 5 new Looney Tunes, or Tiny Toons as they're called in the title of the series. Babs and Buster Bunny, who are twins. We have Sweetie the bird, Hampton the pig, and Plucky the duck. These are essentially the new Buster, Tweety, Porky, and Daffy respectively. And first and foremost, I've seen the first 3 episodes. I should preface this by saying that, and I don't really like this series as a whole, and I'm going to get into why I have problems with it and don't really like it and my criticisms of it. So the first episode starts out where we see Babs and Buster Bunny move into the Looniversity, the college that they're attending. They arrive and they said, okay, let's go see our dorm hall. And it turns out that they're being separated for the first time in their lives. They are not going to be living together. And this serves as the main plot for the first episode, that they don't want to be living apart and they want to move in together. Babs is going to the Merry Melodies dorm hall where she's going to be rooming with Sweetie the bird. And we have Buster going to the other dorm hall where he's rooming with Plucky and Hampton. First thing immediately about this series is in the first episode, I thought this was more so serving as an introductory to the series, an introduction to these characters, which it was. But something that I've noticed as we went into episode 2, which was revolving around them having a pizza party, and episode 3, is this series is very hyper fixed and hyper focused on the 5 characters that I mentioned before. There's a large cast of characters that we see within the first episode alone. These characters that are younger version of, classic Looney Tunes characters, such as we have a new Roadrunner, there's a new Sylvester, there's a new Tasmanian Devil. All of these characters exist, but we really don't see much of them in the series. They don't have much other than, brief little cameos here and there. Most of the time, they don't even have speaking roles in this series, which I would say is rather disappointing, because I feel like this show is very one-dimensional in many senses. I feel like the characters are just uninteresting versions of their classic counterparts, and just the show itself I find to be rather boring. Like, for example, let's just do a little breakdown of the 3 episodes I've seen so far. In the first episode where we were arriving at the Looniversity, I thought, in my opinion, that the episode ran on for way too long. It's a 22-minute format for all of these episodes, and in my opinion, I feel like the first episode could have been consolidated into 11 minutes and it would have been perfectly fine. This second episode, on the other hand, I thought made a great use of the 22-minute time slot. I actually really enjoyed this episode. I thought, okay, because after I saw the first episode, I thought, you know what, I don't know if I really want to see more, but in order for me to talk about this in a video, I need to at least see 1 or 2 more. And after watching the second episode, I was like, oh, this series is actually pretty good. It's redeemed itself for me, and I'm actually intrigued by it now. So real quick, the second episode was revolving a pizza party that they were having, sneakily. They weren't supposed to be having this party, and it shows that Plucky and Buster actually get along for once. They actually are going to work together to throw this party that they're not supposed to be having so they don't get caught. And Hampton's kind of like, what do I do now? What do I do if I'm, not the character to keep the peace? Who am I now? What do I do? And it's kind of like he's having an existential crisis, which was pretty cool and pretty funny. But then the third episode revolves around them starting a newspaper. And I was like, oh, that's a good concept. That's a pretty good idea for this series. And just the episode itself, I just felt was boring. I just thought it was uninteresting. Again, I mentioned before that we're really focused on these 5 main characters being Babs, Buster, Sweetie, Plucky, and Hampton. And while these characters are cool in their own sense, they do feel very one-dimensional, and they don't feel like they're very unique either. They just feel like rip-off versions of their classic counterparts. This isn't the case for all of them. Like, Sweetie and Tweety do have very distinctively different personalities, but for example, Plucky is very much Daffy Duck from the Looney Tunes show. Then Hampton is very much Porky Pig. It's just that they're there are similarities between these characters, which I guess is fine since that's their inspiration, if you will. But at the same time, do they really need to be confined by what's come before? Can't these characters be unique and distinctive in their own way? And in all honesty, I feel like their interactions with each other are just uninteresting. It's like after watching the first episode, you kind of get a good sense of how the rest of the series is going to be. I will say though, the reason I enjoy the second part of it is because we kind of see a little bit of a role reversal. Like the girls are getting along in the first episode, and then in the second episode they're not getting along. In the first episode the boys are not getting along, but then in the second they are getting along. That quickly reverts back to normal by the end of the episode, but nevertheless that was a nice change of pace for the series. But then once I got to the third episode, I felt like, okay, this is pretty much the same as what I've seen before, but just with the different twist to it, a different plot that they're following for this episode, and it was just uninteresting in my opinion. Even the recurring characters in the first 3 episodes are the same. There is the new version of Pepe Le Pew, I don't know her name, it's escaping me at the moment, but she has multiple speaking roles in the first 2 episodes, but none of the other Tiny Toons outside of one raccoon really have any speaking roles in the first 3 episodes. Then we see Bugs appear in the first and third episode. We see Granny, Yosemite Sam. It's these same characters over and over again that are appearing and making roles in these episodes. There is cameos from Daffy Duck. There is a cameo for Willy Coyote. There's a cameo from Tasmanian Devil. There is a character, a little mouse magician, I don't know his name, but he's in the series as well, but I just found the show to be very uninteresting and to be very boring. With that all being said though, I don't necessarily think that this show is terrible per se. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's something that's not for me. This is clearly a series that is targeting a much younger audience, and I feel like if I were a kid watching this today, I probably would have enjoyed what I saw. I probably would have enjoyed the premise of the first 3 episodes. But as someone who's not a kid anymore, as someone who's looking for, I don't want to say always a serious story because I do enjoy stuff like The Amazing World of Gumball, but I'm looking for a little more substance than what we got in Tiny Toons Looniversity. I'm not exactly sure how they would solve these issues for me. I did think of, and I mentioned before, that the 11-minute format for the first episode at least would have fit better than the 22-minute format, but at the same time, having that longer runtime in the second episode really allowed them to flesh out the story more in that episode. The third episode, same thing, but even in those 2 episodes as well, I felt like there was some time where it felt like there were certain events happening that they were kind of just using as fluff to fill out that 22-minute runtime. So overall, if you guys haven't been able to gather already, I am not a fan of Tiny Toons Looniversity. I am not planning on checking out any more of this series beyond the first 3 episodes that I've already seen. You know, when this series was announced, I wasn't really the most excited for it. I kind of, viewed it as an afterthought, as something that I may or may not check out. So after seeing what I've seen, I am a little disappointed because I felt like this could have been a series that is really cool, and conceptually I do like the themes and ideas and this concept of the show as a whole, but it fails in its execution for me, and that's why I'm not going to watch the show going forward. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. Did you guys watch Tiny Toons Looniversity? And if you did, what did you think of the first few episodes? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you going to watch the entire series, or are you done with the show like me? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.